Not working? Now it is. Hey everyone, Robert Nixon here. I'm at CR Lawyers with Rebecca Domovitch. She's a lawyer and notary here that does land transfers and other services for CR Lawyers. She can go a little more in detail, and you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Rebecca, and I am indeed a lawyer and a notary here. Basically, I do real estate transactions, corporate and commercial work, and some litigation files as well, and estate planning.
Cool. So estate planning, would that be, no,
Like
that wouldn't be
wills,
would that be wills and
totally
stuff still?
wills,
Yeah.
powers of attorney, representation agreements, stuff like that.
Yeah, cool. I need to do a will.
Well, you've got my card.
I got her card. I remember I had a sample one before I was supposed to fill it out. I never did it.
Yeah, no, you don't want one of those anyway.
One of those things. Well, at least to get an idea, but yeah. We can talk about that. So I'm going to ask her a couple questions and hopefully provide some information for you guys in regards to the ins and outs of transferring land and all that stuff. So first question is, how long have you been a lawyer for?
So I was called to the bar in May 2017.
So how long did it take to get there?
So I did a 4-year undergrad degree in criminology, then 3 years of law school at the University of Ottawa, then a year of articling here in Campbell River, and
So articling kind of like on the job stuff, like
totally, it's like a year-long internship where you're a baby lawyer.
Cool. That's a long time.
Yeah.
What are you passionate about being a lawyer?
So I didn't actually go to law school until later in life. I was 30 when I started, and I'd been working kind of like a series of entry-level, low-paying jobs and just kind of working my way up. And it was just, I was consistently finding that, you learn the job and then it becomes kind of routine and boring.
Like repetitive.
Totally.
Yeah.
Whereas when I became a lawyer, I'm always learning and improving, and it's definitely never boring. So
And always changing, sort of?
Absolutely, yeah. Keeping up with different customer needs, changing laws, stuff like that.
So the passion is being able to change and learn as you go and not just getting routine and repetitive. That's cool.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to become a lawyer? Was that a part of it? Did you learn that before you became one, or?
Yeah, exactly. And it did definitely relate to the fact that I had been experiencing job dissatisfaction for most of my adult life and wanted to do something more. I initially went to school thinking I would be a paralegal, just because I'd heard there were a lot of job opportunities in that area. But then as I started going into school and kind of digging deeper into it and actually getting okay grades, I thought I may as well just go all the way and be a lawyer instead.
Right, which it was the same introduction sort
Exactly,
of to
yeah.
get there, so that's cool. So I don't know if you want to go into the other stuff that you do or if you want to just talk about the conveyancing part.
Totally, yeah.
So the first question is, the next question is, in regards to conveyancing from a seller's perspective or a homebuyer's perspective, what is your part in the transaction?
Yeah, so it's essentially doing things like pulling title to the property and kind of trying to identify any potential issues that may pop up throughout the transaction before they become a problem. Receiving documents from, say, a mortgage lender and explaining those to the buyer so they understand their rights and obligations under the mortgage. Mm-hmm. And then the big part is also signing documents with them and, again, ensuring that they understand why they're signing these documents and what obligations they're going to incur as a result of signing them.
So with the title and stuff, I mean, obviously, well, unless it's a private sale or something, which hopefully it's not. But we've already usually done all that stuff, but you guys will look at it again and just make sure there's nothing that was missed or make sure they fully understand what it is.
Exactly, yeah. And there's always some weird stuff that pops up in titles, especially in Campbell River, like under surface rates and the railroad rates. So it's always
You know, to say those aren't important. They're on everything.
Don't worry about it. You're probably not your land is not going to be like expropriated by the government to build a railroad at this stage.
Yeah, but the Queen owns it all still. You never actually own it. So have you probably experienced, I've experienced it for sure, which is important when it goes to lawyer, that the title gets pulled again because stuff can get thrown on there.
Definitely.
Like a lien or
exactly last minute stuff.
CPL or whatever. Those are huge. Have you ever had that happen?
I haven't yet. I've been fortunate.
Yeah.
I did, in terms of like me representing something, everything has typically gone fairly smoothly with a few exceptions. Buying my house was really fun. It was a foreclosure and the original owners were non-residents of Canada.
Okay,
but they had
interesting.
kind of disappeared and the bank had foreclosed. And so there was a huge issue getting the bank to agree to provide the tax certificate to make,
Oh.
yeah, just to make sure that I wouldn't get assessed taxes that the sellers owed. So that was a huge
Oh,
snafu, and the transaction
so
almost didn't complete.
the
So
certificate saying the taxes have been paid up to date.
exactly,
Because you
yeah,
guys have to do it when you do the transfer, because if there's 10 years of back taxes.
exactly, yeah.
Or like an older person that defers their taxes, would that apply where they have to make sure they get paid out?
I don't think it would fall on the buyer in that situation,
Hmm.
but it would definitely come out of the net sale proceeds for the seller.
Huh. So what did you do to, what did they do to resolve that?
Um, it involved the court. Someone had to go to court and get an order absolute, which is
Right.
essentially it transfers title to the property to the bank rather than to the owners. And because title was then held in the name of the bank, they could provide that tax certificate, and we were able to close the sale.
Right. Yeah, banks can be interesting sometimes because they're like, we don't want any liability. It's as is where
Totally.
it is.
Yeah.
The house is
And
burnt down by the time you get it. It's not our fault. Like,
yeah, and like there are a lot of advantages to buying a foreclosed
can be,
house.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
like we definitely got it below the fair market value.
Yeah.
So I don't want to like scare anyone off, but it was just an
No, there's
exciting
always
transaction.
potential, but I mean,
Exactly.
you always have to tell people like you can't write stuff in the offer, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
appliances and stuff, they're like, nope, sorry, we're not liable for them. And
Yeah.
there is times where people take them when they leave,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. And
most
in
of the
my
time they
case,
don't.
because the sellers had left the country, I was fairly confident.
Yeah, there's
And
not much of a worry, and sometimes they're
exactly.
crappy anyways. If it's like
Yeah.
you're gonna renovate or something, then not as big of a deal. But yeah, those can be
Exactly.
interesting for sure. So, what about? Do you have any? Want to say anything about any of the other stuff that you do, like the wills or anything that I wouldn't be as knowledgeable about? It might be
For
interesting for
sure. Well,
people
I
to
think
hear.
estate planning is really important when you purchase a house because your house is likely going to be your biggest asset.
Yeah.
So, whenever you purchase a house, I do think it's important if you don't have a will to draft one or just to
Mm-hmm.
make sure it still reflects what your wishes are in the event of your death. So, for that reason, yeah, it's good to kind of do a dual duty thing with the lawyer and as well as purchase the house, maybe talk about some estate planning considerations just to make
Yeah,
sure.
especially if you have a family and stuff, you don't want to leave
Exactly.
them
Yeah,
struggling with it.
exactly.
So we had a conversation yesterday actually with someone in town, and they thought, and you would know the answer to this. So for life insurance, if say like me and Tanya are in our house together, if
Hmm.
someone were to pass away, does the bank require that stuff? And would you think that maybe that's important to have life or disability in case something happens to a
Yeah,
mortgage?
normally the bank will not require life insurance.
No,
They're more concerned about fire
fire and
insurance.
theft or house insurance, basically.
Exactly, yeah. But I mean, if someone is going to be in a position where they're not going to be able to afford the mortgage in the event that their spouse or co-owner passes away, it would be a good idea for sure, just
Yeah,
to
for
make sure
sure it
everyone is
is.
covered in the event of unforeseen circumstances.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. I definitely recommend it too. There's so many pieces to stuff like that. It's hard, especially if you're a first time home buyer, to
Yeah,
know all that stuff, right?
for sure,
I mean, you
yeah.
need house insurance. Like they're just worried about buying the house to think about a will and where the place is going to go if they die and who's going to be responsible for it and how it's going to
Yeah,
get paid
or
off.
even
And
just like the typical closing costs in the transaction, because most people are just focused on what the
yeah,
cost of the house is and don't know that there are kind of some additional costs that come along.
for sure. So it's good, something good to think about. And I think for me, I've started to think about that stuff more now as I've got more experience in it. But my
Yes,
first house, I was just like, get her done. It
yes,
was a 40-year no down payment mortgage, and it was got me into a house, right?
exactly,
That was
yeah.
a while ago, but that was just the end goal, right? Is the house was it?
Yeah, get into the house and move on.
So your first time helping someone with their first time buying or selling a home or transferring her.
Yeah, so mine was actually a private sale.
Uh-oh.
I know, right?
Should we edit this part out? No. And actually, I got an accepted offer in a private sale right now too. So
Yeah,
I do explore that as options for my clients.
yeah,
It
and
just
this was
works a
kind
little
of like
different.
a deal between acquaintances, and yeah, it all went fairly
Which,
smoothly, and
yeah,
I was lucky
family.
for my first transaction.
Okay, so nothing special with that one. It was just. So did you do the whole contract and everything for them?
We did, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that was
Interesting.
a fun part too.
Which does happen.
Yeah, although it is very similar to the one you guys use.
Yeah, and you have to be careful with conflicts of interest and all that stuff. Now.
Yeah.
Well, you guys probably don't even know. I think it's different for you guys, but we won't even get into that stuff.
Oh, yes.
The whole
Dual
representation
agency,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah. So, what would you say is the most challenging aspect of being a lawyer? I'd say I'd like it'd be nice to hear it from the property transfer part, but from your previous experiences since you might have a little more?
I think overall the hardest part is giving someone bad news.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, because sometimes in addition to being a lawyer, you also have to be their emotional support. And
Yeah.
it can be challenging because you definitely understand why they're stressed, but there's sometimes this, like when an issue first pops up, you don't know what the outcome is going to be. So it's really trying to be reassuring while still delivering bad news when you don't really know what the outcome is going to be yet.
Yeah, right, and guiding them. I just think I mean, that might be more why you're getting into more of the transfer part. It might be a little less. There might be less of that compared
For
to
the
like
most
fighting
part.
in court with someone or something, or family
Yeah,
court.
for the most part, our work is proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah, which is good. It's always good
Yes,
to be
I
a little
agree.
more positive.
Yeah.
What is your greatest accomplishment being a lawyer? Just getting that ticket's probably a huge one.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Just making it through all the like weird requirements to actually get here, and being called to the bar was definitely my greatest
So
accomplishment so far.
what is getting called to the bar exactly?
Yeah, so it's a funny word. In BC, it basically
Well,
just
it's young
means
chicken.
that you've like got your undergrad degree, you've got your law school degree, you've completed articling, and then in BC, there's also a course that you have to complete called PLTC.
Okay.
So that's basically our bar admission course. It's a 12-week course with assessments throughout and then 2 bar exams at the end. So that's always stressful for everyone. So yeah, just completing all those steps, and then you being called to the bar is just like a ceremony in court. You get to wear the barrister's robes, and you're just presented to the court and officially a
So
lawyer.
kind of like graduation, right?
Exactly, yeah. You do the
Accepted into
barrister's
their.
and solicitor's oath, and then yeah.
So, and it's different in BC. So, say Alberta or Manitoba or something, or Ontario or
Yeah,
whatever.
so they're it's always basically the same regardless of the province. But so I went to law school in Ontario, and there they don't have that 12-week course. They just have like 2 8-hour multiple choice exams that they each that they self-study for throughout the summer, and that's what they do instead of the 12-week course.
BC, it seems like with a lot of things, BC sort of, I guess, they make it's a little harder. I think with a lot of things, I think they just set a high standard, right? Which I think can be better. I've been listening to these podcasts, and it's called the Unreal Estate Show. He's got a real estate team in Vancouver, and he's been going around interviewing different people in different countries and all over. And he was interviewing people in Netherlands or Iceland. And it's actually quite interesting to hear the different ways they do real estate in different places.
Totally.
But in Iceland, there only is one real estate. They always represent both parties.
Oh.
And they basically, like, their penalty if you are, like, break your fiduciary duties or
Totally,
are not doing what you should, like, not acting in a professional manner.
Like one client's best interest above the other,
exactly.
Like that.
Being dishonest, basically, right? It's basically like you lose your license and that's it, right? They're pretty cut and dry and, like, done.
Strict.
But they run that way and they have for a long time. So whereas BC, it's changing as well, right? Which,
more a system of stern warnings before the losing your license.
Yeah, I don't even know. I wouldn't even want to go there. But just making it, I think it's good that they make it more strict and it gives you a little bit opportunity to be more professional, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Try anyways. So, what are your long-term goals? Obviously, you probably want to stay a lawyer. Do you want to start your own firm?
No, I love it here for sure. I've recently kind of switched from mainly litigation practice, so going to court, over to a solicitor practice, so the real estate transactions, the corporate and commercial, and the estate planning. So my long-term goals are just to be awesome at that. And I definitely would like to stay at the firm. I find it better to kind of have colleagues to bounce ideas off of. I don't know that I would do well as a sole practitioner or anything like that.
Right, if you're totally on your own. It's always good to have other people. I think even if you had your own firm, maybe you'd want it to be with people for,
for company and for guidance.
We're pretty well self-employed, but there's always someone you can talk to. And most other agents are super helpful, right? If you do need the help, as well as our owners and brokers. So who owns this firm? Is Stuart an owner?
Yeah, Stuart's an owner, and there's 3 other partners, Gemma and...
Gemma Simonette?
Yeah, exactly. Peter Higgs and Sam Gordon. So Peter and Sam primarily do litigation work, and then Stuart and Gemma are solicitors.
Okay, so 5 lawyers in the office completely? Or
So
overall?
there's me. We also have another lawyer here named Michael Cantwell. He was called to the bar a year after me,
Oh,
and
yeah,
he
cool.
mainly maintains litigation practice. We also have an articling student named Layla Hartford. She's off to PLTC soon, but when she returns, she's primarily doing family law stuff, and she's
Okay,
awesome at it. And
cool.
then some other general
So
litigation
you guys
stuff.
do basically everything lawyer related?
Everything lawyer related, with the
Family
exception
litigation?
of criminal.
Oh, right, no criminal.
Yeah, but other than that, you
That's
name
probably its
it,
own animal.
it
Like an
is for
office would probably
sure.
almost just specialize in that
For
as one office.
sure,
Yeah.
yeah. Like most people, so in Campbell River, there's one purely criminal practice firm, and then a couple of lawyers who will take it on, but mainly do other stuff too.
Right. And if it's its own specialty, it's good to be versed in it. So, if anyone, do you have any tips for someone who's interested in becoming a lawyer? Sorry, quick question on the side though.
Mm-hmm.
So, like your card says lawyer and notary.
Right.
I always thought they were different, but
They
maybe
are different. So if you're a lawyer, just by virtue of being a lawyer, you have notarial. You can be
right. So you can call yourself that basically
exactly,
because
yeah.
you have the same or a higher standard or training or
different training that also like it just encompasses what notaries are trained to do. So just by virtue of our training to be lawyers, we learn what notaries learn.
Right. So you would probably say that just because maybe sometimes people attain that to a real estate transaction, so it might make people understand what you do a little bit better. Is that sort of why? Or
exactly, yeah. And I think notaries are excellent at what they do. The only small issue, though, is that notary's scope of practice is a little bit more limited than a lawyer's.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a possibility that if something goes wrong in the transaction, then it might be necessary to retain a lawyer as well.
Yeah,
and that can
sure.
definitely be more expensive.
Yeah, and I don't have a lot of experience in the whole lawyer notary thing, but I think if you're using a notary for a transaction, a transfer of land, it's fine. But if you do have anything that's specific to a legal contract or something that's gonna
just exactly
like I had something that was done by a notary that wasn't void, and the notary basically said it's not void because it wasn't written by a lawyer. So if you're gonna do like an agreement,
and I do think notaries can draft the agreements, but things like if it does end up like there's something on title that you need to go to court to deal with, the notary wouldn't be able to do that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it gets complicated, which always good to ask questions.
Exactly, but the thing is, like 99.9% of real estate transactions do proceed smoothly, so it's just like one consideration in the scope of things, essentially, as to whether you retain a lawyer or notary.
For sure. Hopefully not. And I mean,
exactly.
Your real estate agents probably and your mortgage broker are the two people before the lawyer that are going to do their due diligence, and it definitely helps to have one that's going to do their due diligence.
Absolutely. So the real estate agent can kind of take a look at the nature of the transaction and make recommendations in that regard.
Yeah, and there can be a lot of stuff. Like, I mean, what was the other day I emailed Stuart, and I was like, can you just... I actually had asked someone else, and they explained it to me about, can you just confirm that this means what it means? So I can have it from a lawyer and make sure I still understand it right. Because the way I read something and the way you read something, the way Stuart reads something might be different.
Absolutely.
Not to mention you guys have a better understanding of that stuff. So that was good, and I had an email from him that was sort of something in writing that I can go, okay, I can rely on that now, right?
Perfect.
So that's huge for sure. And going through all the documents can be... I'm starting to learn them better for sure over the years, but there's a lot to them.
But it's overwhelming at first.
Yeah, and you got to try and make your client understand it.
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of times it's about definitely breaking it down into something understandable, because when you sit down at the table with a stack of papers this high, it can definitely be intimidating.
Yeah, totally. Especially with strata and stuff. Do you guys must have to review strata with people sometimes?
Yeah, definitely. The minutes of strata council meetings, just to see if there's any like unexpected strata fees that are going to pop up, just so
like special assessments.
Exactly. Yeah.
And strata can be scary. Like I think strata's a great idea, but it's just there's some scary stories where it's like, you never know what's going to happen, and you get a $50,000 special assessment or something, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just like another level of complexity to the transaction. For
sure. Exactly. So, but a well-run strata can be bare land's kind of nice because it doesn't really involve the building. It's just
the ones that do your like landscaping for you and shovel your snow, which can't go wrong there.
Bare land usually.
Yeah.
And the nice thing I was explaining to people, bare land, mostly the taxes and stuff are deducted on your actual taxes, so it almost becomes free sometimes for some of the landscaping compared to your tax adjustments. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, not bad.
Pays for your gardener. So sorry, back to this. Any tips for someone who's interested in becoming a lawyer?
Yeah, the main thing is when you're doing your undergraduate degree, choose something that you're interested in and will do well at. Law schools like to accept people with kind of like broad experiences. They don't necessarily want just like philosophy students or whatever. And obviously your grades are a important consideration when you're applying. So yeah, choose something that you're interested in and that you can do well at. It's not like medical school where there's like pre-med requirements. It's just basically get an undergraduate degree.
So an undergraduate's like a 4-year, like a Bachelor of Arts would be like an undergraduate?
Exactly.
I don't know a lot
Bachelor
about those
of
things.
Science.
Bachelor of Science. So sorry, what did you do again?
It was a Bachelor of Arts in Criminology at Simon Fraser.
Okay, Bachelor of Arts in Criminology? Sounds counterproductive. Not counterproductive, but like they don't sound like they go together.
It doesn't sound like arts, but yeah, arts is stuff like philosophy, sociology.
Okay, right, I guess so. Okay, because I was thinking art, but arts.
Yeah, like I think there's like also a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, and that would be like the more artistic stuff. Like
okay, would that be good to go to a lawyer?
Totally, like there was definitely a guy in my law school class who had a Bachelor of Fine Arts, came from a major acting background, and honestly, I think that works well for him, especially if he wants to be a litigator, because he kind of doesn't get that stage fright. He's
right,
good at kind of like speaking convincingly. So I think that definitely put him ahead of the curve in terms of advocacy skills.
That's interesting. I mean, I've always sort of seen a lot of people that go to school and get like a Bachelor of whatever it is, and then it seems like they don't do anything with it, or they don't have a direction. So it's probably good to have a direction on where you're going to go, but I guess in your situation, you could do something like that and then sort of decide.
Totally, and I do think that is how a lot of people end up in law school. They get a Bachelor of Arts degree that they can't really do much with, so they're just like, yeah, I'll go to law school.
Yeah, because I'm a journeyman heavy duty mechanic, so I did a little bit of schooling for that, right? And then my real estate schooling was homeschooled.
Right.
And a big test, and then learning for the last 3 years.
The self-directed learning, though, that's a challenge. I have tried to do distance courses in the past and found that I really need the in-class structured environment. So if you're able to self-teach yourself to be a real estate agent, it's pretty impressive to me.
I'm pretty good at it, but it's all law and math.
Yes.
So I'm sure you know what law is like, and it's pretty dry, and I'm not great with that stuff. But I did I think it was $600. She teaches at UBC, and it's she's put together this course, so I do it on my computer, and she do a chapter of law, chapter of math, and test you after.
Okay.
And it was like being in a classroom. And then I go home and read, and then I do the test.
Yeah.
So I think that was worth its weight in gold.
Definitely.
For $600 or something, it was like you had someone teaching you.
For sure, yeah. As long as you can get someone to teach it to you, that makes it a lot easier.
I would have done it anyways. And I passed the first time.
Absolutely, that's awesome.
It's a hard test, apparently. I'm sure yours was harder, though. So, do you have anything else you wanted to tell anyone in regards to any of it?
Not that I can think of, but do definitely want to reiterate the importance of estate planning, especially as you get older and start acquiring big, expensive assets like houses.
Yeah, I need to do that. I have a couple houses, but they pay for the. We got a rental in our house, and I have a rental, but.
Okay.
If it pays for itself, it shouldn't matter. But then if you don't know where it's going, it can end up being a bunch of legal costs that are just wasted, and the house could end up. And the equity and stuff could be wasted anyways.
Yeah, and stressful for the tenant as well.
No, my tenants are great actually. So
I just rented out the main floor of my house and lucked out and got an awesome tenant with. You
did?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. So you have a suite in your house?
Yeah, I do.
And you live in the suite?
So the suite is on the main floor of the house, and I live upstairs.
Oh, okay. So it's it's a basement home or
sort of,
main level entry sort of.
Yeah, main level entry, 2-bedroom, and
cool.
Yeah.
Suites it's nice.
Yeah, totally.
Especially with the cost of housing these days.
Exactly, and the property taxes in Campbell River.
Yeah, they're not cheap. I know prices have been going crazy, but it's leveling off a little bit now. It's hard when you hear people that can't get into the market and stuff.
For sure, yeah.
And you just got to be encouraging, right? But,
yeah, exactly.
So last question is, do you have any recommendations of someone else I could interview in the future?
Well, I hear my boss, Stuart Carstairs, loves being on camera. So definitely hit him up.
Yes, for sure. He was my plan, and he said he's too busy, so he recommended you.
I think he's just shy.
But we'll get him on there eventually. We'll show him this one, and he'll see, oh, look, they're smiling. It's happy.
Exactly. And then I've also had some dealings with a woman named Katie Cronin at the Mortgage Center.
Okay, yeah, Katie's actually good for sure.
Yeah. Write it down.
what was KROAN or C?
CRO.
I know her. I haven't actually talked to her in a while or done a deal with her, but.
Yeah, she helped a client out of a difficult situation, so I like to recommend her as a mortgage broker.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Hopefully
you.
you're watching and learned something. Bye.